Very warm welcome to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook for the 26th of March, and we have got a very turbulent weather pattern at the moment that will continue through the next several days and on into the Easter weekend. Before we continue with the video, be sure to like, share and subscribe. There is plenty of things going on, plenty of reason to stick around here on the channel and learn what is really taking place. Why have we got this very turbulent weather at the moment? Why are we seeing a lot of nasty weather moving in across parts of France, into Iberia, into the northwest of Africa, and through the Canaries as well. Below average temperatures, heavy rain, gusty winds, and even some snow over the tops of the highest hills in the Canary Islands, and also up here across the UK as well. We are seeing a wintry landscape return. So, also before we continue with the video, I will encourage you to, if you happen to be free at around 8 p.m, between 8 and 9 p.m. on Friday, Good Friday upcoming, I will have a special Easter edition of the live stream. There is no live stream coming up this Sunday afternoon because I happen to have a dinner date with the in-laws, so I will be somewhat preoccupied this upcoming Sunday. But to make things even and fair for everybody, and continuing to drive home plenty of unique and good content here, hopefully in the channel. There is a live stream coming up at 8 p.m. this Friday, and I will have a link for that video probably in tomorrow's video and going forward. Also, I should have a bit of an Easter forecast for the upcoming weekend in tomorrow's on the website, and also here on the channel we'll look at the Easter weekend as well. But I want to get right to it here. There is some very interesting things going on. The Mandjilin Oscillation has rotated through the warm phases of 4 and 5 into 6, which has allowed somewhat of a build-up of pressure anywhere between the Azores and Scandinavia, with even the UK having some flirts with higher pressure at times. But generally speaking, this wet pattern that started off back in July last year continues to drive a very soggy weather pattern across the UK, Ireland, and other areas of the continent as well. We have then now rotated through phases 7 and 8. That promotes blocking, by the way, across the north, across Greenland, and also forces with that blocking, not necessarily bitterly cold conditions, but what it does mean, a block to the north of the British Isles tends to lead to a southward displaced jet stream, and therefore if you happen to be going down to Spain, Portugal, Morocco, the Canaries for the upcoming Easter weekend, I'm afraid you're going to have some pretty unsettled conditions. It's not going to be warm, sunny conditions throughout the weekend, I'm afraid, and it is a lot to do with the fact that the sudden stratospheric warming that took place, although we've not seen a particularly cold response from that, what I would say is that the MJO is having a bigger impact on the hemispheric pattern compared to what the stratospheric warming situation did. Now, that being said, we've had some significant snow over parts of the eastern United States, and we'll look at that in the upcoming live stream on Friday night. We're going to have a look at several different things, including Easter's extremes in years gone by for the UK. We're going to also look at the April outlook. We're going to talk about Easter weekend weather overall. And there's also going to be a bit of a global weather report thrown in there for good measure as well, because it has to be said that I always happen to leave out something important with the live streams or the global weather reports. It frustrates the life out of me that every time I do these videos and then I finish it up, I always happen to forget stuff, and it really irritates me because the stuff that I want to share with you, I want to talk about, and I just happen to forget. Now, our good friend Richard Trott, who's a contributor to Gav's Weather Vids, did say after the video, was a private message to him, and I said that it really annoys the life out of me because I forget certain things, and he says, you're just going to have to write stuff down, and he's spot on, and I have in the past, but I've found in recent times, and this is probably a lack of organization on my part actually, is I find stuff to do and then I get into it, and then I'm like, oh, it's, the time's moving on. I have to start the live stream, and that usually throws things out of the way. So what I need to do is sit down for probably about at least a half an hour, maybe even an hour before these videos, and plan out what I'm going to talk about. So yeah, I'm talking absolute nonsense. I'm sure you're saying, why are you telling us this, Mark? But I just thought I would say it nonetheless anyway. But anyway, the MJO in the blocky phases, and lo and behold, the North Atlantic Oscillation is going into the tank. Now, this is the deepest negative NAO, by the way, since the middle of January. So, yeah, that's quite a significant drop. And in my opinion, anyway, it's down to this: the rotation into phases 78 and even into 1. The question is, are we going to start to see the warmer phases coming back in phases 3, 4, and 5? So do we have a potential warm spell as we progress through the month of April? That is going to remain to be seen. It'll be interesting to see actually what happens with that. But this is the GFS, and this is the Jetstream chart. And you can see what is taking place. In fact, before we look at the Jetstream chart, let's have a look and see what the blocking situation is showing up on the GFS operational here. So this is the GFS 500 millibar geopotential height anomalies, and you can see the blowing up of the dark reds, which represent the positive compared to climatological history. So you notice here we've got a very deep vortex here to the south-southwest of the British Isles here. Deep areas of low pressure, very deep in fact. The GFS is indicating 950s in millibars in the next 24 hours or so to the southwest of the British Isles, and that's going to throw up energy. Remember, we've got strong incoming solar radiation. I think it's actually early September level strength sun at this time of the year. You throw in a cold mid and upper levels of the atmosphere with that strong incoming solar radiation, and if it directly impacts the land, that then enhances the lift within the atmosphere. And what we are going to see, by the way, is rain, showers, thunderstorms, hail, gusty winds, probably gale force winds, and those beautiful Taran cumulonimbus clouds. It's going to be almost a kind of April-y type shower activity over the next few days. Those showers could dump a lot of rain in a short space of time. But notice here the very deep contrast between strong positive over Greenland, the Baffin Straits, versus a deep negative edging into Iberia. And it is this deep negative that is edging into Iberia that is going to bring all sorts of chilly and very unsettled conditions across this region of the world in the next few days. But there's that strong classic west-based negative North Atlantic pattern. And therefore, what that does is, with the blocking to the north, acts like a stone in a river, reroutes the water around that stone, and it's the same idea in the atmosphere above our heads. What that does is it forces the jet stream and all the Atlantic weather to move further south. Unfortunately, we're not going to get out of this unsettled theme anytime soon. What is going to happen is we're just going to be involved in the washing machine effect over the next few days. So we go back to the overview chart here. There's that deepening area of low pressure at 958 millibars. That is, you certainly do not sniff at that. 948, in fact, it's showing by the time we reach 1500 UTC tomorrow. And look at what happens is we've got this big broad trough extending anywhere from Iceland all the way down into the northwest of Africa. And it's the point, that vast distance between Iceland and Morocco, we're going to see this kind of washing machine effect. Area of low pressure at 948 millibars, and you've got all that weather spiraling around that center of low pressure. What that's doing is, with the position of it just to the west-southwest of the UK, it's throwing weather fronts northwards. Now, what also is of note is this high over Greenland is actually drawing some Arctic air southwards towards the UK, while this system to the west-southwest is throwing weather systems up from the south here. So we've got this kind of collision of air masses. If we look at the 850s, you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So you've got the colder to the north, you've got the not so much milder, but less colder to the south. What that's doing is it's spiraling around the center, and what it's also doing is drawing this colder into unusually far south locations here. So Spain, Portugal, in the northwestern Africa, you're then drawing some of this unusually cool air for this part of the world anyway down, and it's going to enhance the showers and thunderstorms even down as far as the Canary Islands here. And then as we continue to play through the loop, what you see is that high over Greenland trying to push Arctic air southwards, but that area of low pressure is then trying to pull milder air up from the south. So you've got this kind of clash, this battle between cold coming south and warm coming north here, and you just continue with this very, very unsettled pattern. So this is by the time, let's get back to the start of Good Friday and kind of just play slightly back through the sequence here. You can see all this weather moving into Spain and Portugal here. So if you happen to be vacationing for the Easter weekend, you've got a 975 millibar low just off the northwest coast of Iberia. That is going to throw a lot of energy across the Iberian Peninsula, bringing those downpours, heavy mountain snow potentially as well. But we also could see flash flooding. This is a flash flood threat for Iberia right away across the peninsula as we progress through the Easter weekend. So unfortunately for people going down here for the Easter weekend or a short weekend break, so to speak, it is going to be unsettled. There is going to be breaks. There is probably going to be a bit of warmth in that sun when you do get those breaks, but there is plenty of showers to talk about here. And then we've got more systems moving up from the southwest over the British Isles, enhancing the shower and the thunderstorm threat here. And then as we move towards the early portions of next week here, you can see that we've got some north to northeasterly winds trying to bring in some of that colder air. If we look at the 850s, you can see here the colder air coming in to the UK here, so we could enhance the snow risk over the Scottish Mountains, for example, possibly the north of England, north of Wales, parts of Northern Ireland over Glenshane Pass, for example, higher parts of the Spurns as well. We could see some snow to speak about, and we maintain this cold theme according to the latest run of the GFS operational by the time we reach the end of week one. And then we've got a push of milder conditions. So this is this back and forth. And it can be quite hard to forecast it when you've got this swing back and forth between cold and warm. And then we're, flirting with something a good deal milder. Then more cold air comes into the mix as well. So you get the overall idea. But speaking of the cold, not that far to the north, because many people are probably saying it's actually not that cold, even for the end of March, beginning of April. We've seen colder in the past. We've seen snow in the air, even down to sea level. And that is completely true. But I thought this was interesting here. This is a tweet here by Torsten Hansen, based in Sweden, I believe it is. And he says, wondering where the cold is this spring. Well, some of it is over North America, but also the Arctic. Svalbard is experiencing the longest cold spell in late March since 1987, with 13 days in a row below -20. So up in the island, the Arctic island of Svalbard, just north of Scandinavia, and it's obviously part of Norway. It's had 13 straight days below -20, which is rather interesting. But even slightly closer to home, we are seeing some very, very impressive cold. Down to -34.7 in Norway last night. This is a tweet here by Thierry Goose. And he says, it's very cool for late March, not that far from the April national record as well, which is quite interesting given the fact that we're in March still. We're not in the April yet. And yet we've seen temperatures down to -34.7. So that is quite impressive stuff, actually. And that shows you so close yet so far. And that has been the overall story of this, the past winter as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you have, be sure to hit the like button and let YouTube and myself know that you're enjoying the content. Remember, 8 o'clock this upcoming Friday, a special Easter edition of the live stream coming up, and we're going to look at so many different things in that roughly hour-long live stream this upcoming Friday evening, because I happen to be off work. Typically, I would be on the road, and that would be the final night of my work week, but I've got the Good Friday and Easter Monday off, which is quite nice, I must admit. So, I think I've spoken long enough. Like, share, and subscribe. See you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.